Kia ora koutou, Markie here, the grizzled walrus of retroactive jealousy, with probably one of the most important retroactive jealousy recovery videos I've ever done. So I'd say this is a foundational one that would go along with the golden one on the golden rule and the antidote, and I think what the other foundational ones are. If I get a chance, I'll put the foundational ones in a playlist. And maybe put a link to that down below. If it's not there yet, don't panic, it just means I haven't got around to it. So, yes, this is something that I suppose I've had in my head for years and years, but never actually thought to articulate out loud. But it's very important, and every time I look on the Facebook groups for retroactive jealousy, I'm kind of a bit horrified by how many people are unaware of this. So this is a message I really want to get out there. So if you can share this or support this video in any way, so things like liking it, subscribing, all that, giving a nice comment, all those kind of things help. But this is a video that we really need to get out to people who are suffering and will not get better if they don't follow the guidance herein. Okay, so what this is about is what I've decided to call the core elements of recovery. If you don't do these three things, you won't get better. Okay, they are simple, but I could do a stream of videos on any one of them, going into the how. This doesn't go into the how, this is the what. But there's plenty of other videos. Just check out my back catalogue. There's over 120 free YouTube videos on retroactive jealousy recovery. So no excuse not to get better. Okay, there's plenty of help there. So number one, okay, is you need to get the right guidance. Okay. Now, I'll say a little bit about these three components, but I'm not going to go into great depth because this is in other videos. So I've done another video on this. So how do you get the right guidance? Well, you can get it from me. You can get it from check out Gwendoline's videos as well. Check out Hadley's videos. Zachary Stockhill's got some good stuff. I don't think Zachary Stockhill's got the full picture. I think some of his stuff is very good and it works brilliantly for some people, but it doesn't quite hit the spot for everyone. I think mainly because he's not a therapist, and our approach here at Retract is very much that we're all therapists. So get the right guidance. Okay, so I've already talked about the free videos that are available here. You can get more stuff on our Patreon channel as well. There's additional videos on there. You can check out our website, that's got guidance on it as well. Plenty of guidance. You want to be watching RJ videos, you want to watch all of them really. Yeah, and this comes into element number 3 as well. But you want to, why, if you haven't watched all the retroactive jealousy videos, why not really? Maybe you're working through them and you haven't got to them yet, but there's all that free guidance there. Just use it. Get well. So number 2, you need to have a daily recovery program. You won't get well by sharing information and having conversations with people on Facebook groups. It might help, in some ways it might hinder. We talked about that in other videos as well. But that is not enough. You're not going to miraculously get better just by thinking about it. It's a thinking disorder. You won't think your way out of it, okay? You need to take action, and you need to have a daily recovery program. Now, among other things, the videos that I've talked about, there is a daily recovery program on there. There's actions to do each day for 35, at least 35 days. So that's a good start for you. But things like the antidote technique, that's something that needs to be included in your daily recovery program. Very much so. And number 3, okay, you need to make this the top priority in your life. That's a bit of a scary one, isn't it? Not forever, because you're going to get better. So there's another model, not one of my models, but a very famous model called the cycle of change, or sometimes it's trans-theoretical model, which is a pompous name if ever there was one, which talks about recovery, which talks about change rather than recovery, but it's used in drug and alcohol recovery. And what that talks about is there's 2 phases of recovery from an addiction. that's how the model's usually used. It's not just about addiction, but there are two phases. One is action, and the other is maintenance. Okay, so there is an element of actions that you will need to take to keep RJ away for the rest of your life. Okay, but they're easy. Okay, but in the short term, I'm just looking. There's a dog distracting me because he's running around in circles for some reason. I don't know. I'm going to have to show you this. Sorry. Oh, he's stopped now. Is he going to do it again? I think he was looking for his stick. Yeah. I won't film that woman. That looks a bit creepy. So easily distracted. See my videos on ADHD as well, by the way. That's not a joke. I'm serious. So you need to make recovery from RJ your number one priority until when? Until you've got it under control. Okay, which can happen quite quickly. There can be between 6 months and a year, and you'll experience improvements along the way if you're doing the actions 1 and 2 and 3. So you need to be serious about this, and it needs to be your main focus. So think about what's important to you in life, work, relationships, all those kind of things. They'll all be affected ultimately by your RJ if you don't work on it. There's the phrase again they use in addiction recovery that says, whatever you put before your recovery, you'll lose it anyway, which is very true. I've worked in rehab, and people will say, "Oh, I can't come into rehab because I've got to look after my children." Well, you'll lose your children if you don't deal with your addiction problem, because social services or Rangimarie or whoever it is in your respective country will, if you become chaotic and put your children's lives at risk or their well-being at risk because of your addiction, then you'll lose them, or you'll lose your job because you're not like with RJ. You might not be focused. RJ takes, in a way, what you're doing already is you're already giving RJ your full priority. You're putting all your thought and all your energy and all your emotion into RJ. So it's not that big a deal to make this your number one priority, but you might come up with all kinds of excuses. Because there's often with RJ, and I've done videos on this as well, there's a part of us that doesn't want to get well because it does serve a function. I won't go into that now, but check out those other videos. I hope the wind isn't too noisy on this video, by the way. There's a bit of a balmy breeze blowing. So yeah, you do need to make it top priority. Don't expect your recovery to be easy. Okay, it's totally doable, but don't expect it to be easy. Don't expect not to break a sweat in order to get well. It needs to be your focus until you get it under control. Okay, and then you can still maintain maintenance of recovery, but that's a much easier. That's kind of almost effortless, really. It's just about remembering certain things. So number one, a bit of repetition because it needs to be committed to memory, I would say. Number one, I always forget when I'm about to start number one. Even though I've just said it, my short-term memory is awful. Is get the right guidance. Number two is, I think it's numbers, because I'm numerically dyslexic. As soon as I throw a number into something, it throws me completely. Number two is have a daily program, daily actions. A lot of repetition. The actions will be quite repetitious, and some of them won't. There's lots of different elements to recovery. Recovery can be very holistic, but ultimately you need to be taking actions every day, several times a day. And number three, make it your top priority until you've got it under control. Okay, so they're the three main things. If you're not doing those three main things, whatever else you are doing ain't going to work. Okay, it's not going to get you well. So and there's a lot of scope for different ways to apply that formula. Not everybody does exactly all the same things to get to recovery. For example, for some people meditation's a big deal, but for many people meditation's something they don't get on with. So it's not recovery by numbers, but it is the core elements, the core essence of your recovery. So don't lose sight of this if you want to get well. Hope that's helpful. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one. Hope you enjoyed the view. I'm sorry I didn't get to show you the dog running around in circles because it was quite amusing. And